Hey everybody, KC here. So count on me. I go to the theater, I come up with a business lesson. So I'm in New York City's Lincoln Center, and I'm going to the Vivian Beaumont Theater behind me to see a revival of Camelot. Now Camelot first came out in Lerner Loewe, 1960, Richard Burton, Julie Andrews, Robert Goulet. And so they've remounted it, but what they've done is something interesting. Aaron Sorkin, of who we know from The West Wing and A Few Good Men and lots of movies and plays, he has basically rewritten the book. Now the music is staying the same, the songs are staying the same, but he's rewritten the book. And part of the reason he's done that is that generally Camelot, when it's been reviewed over the years, people have said, listen, the music is fabulous, but the book is problematic because it's really about the death of a democracy as caused by an adulterous affair in which it gets all blamed on the woman. Now in 2023, that doesn't work so well. So when he's reworked the book and rewritten some of it to make sure that it's, I'm not sure the word is politically correct, but it's more in sync with perhaps a more modern way of looking at things. Now, I think that's a really interesting idea. And the business lesson in this is pretty simple. And the business lesson is, listen, at a time when you know what your strengths are and you know what your weaknesses are, it's really important to pivot towards your strengths and do everything you can to eliminate the weaknesses and really focus on the strengths. Now, I have to tell you, from a creative point of view, I'm a little bit conflicted about this. I recently did a FaceTime where I talked about the idea that I was a little bit annoyed that the books of people like Roald Dahl and Ian Fleming, even Mark Twain, are being rewritten so that words that we find offensive now are no longer in those books. Now, I think that's a mistake in books, because when you do it with books, basically books are a solid thing, and they tell us where we were, so we can better trace how we got to where we are today. Theater is different. People have always edited Shakespeare. People have changed theater because theater is more of a living thing. So I think I have less of a problem with the idea of Sorkin doing this than I would if he were just rewriting a book as opposed to the book for this musical. Anyway, I'm about to go in, I'm going to see the show. I'm going to come back to you in a little bit, and I'm going to tell you what I thought of it. Okay, so I'm back. Just finished watching the show. And it's interesting. Just a brief review. I mean, the thing I said earlier was that it's really important when you know what your strengths are and you know what your weaknesses are to kind of move away from the weaknesses and move towards your strengths. One of the strengths of Camelot has always been the idea that it has an amazingly strong score. The songs are beautiful, the music is gorgeous, and that stays pretty much intact in this show. It's very interesting to watch somebody like an Aaron Sorkin sort of rewrite the book. One of my comments would be, there are times in the show you're not hearing the characters talk, you're hearing Aaron Sorkin talk. Some of that's good, because there's a connection between a lot of the characters that he's written about in his career, whether it's Jeb Bartlett, Atticus Finch in his redo of To Kill a Mockingbird, or King Arthur. There's some connections there. Doesn't completely work as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I really liked it. I liked it more than Mrs. Content Guy. I'll bet you there's one thing they're going to say probably in the reviews is that at no point in the show do you see the round table, which is a really interesting sort of debate. Is the round table an actual thing? Does it matter if we see it? Or does it matter only in the sense that it's an idea? I really wanted to see it. We don't see it. The other thing he does is by making the characters more human, right? The original were Richard Burton, Julie Andrews, Robert Goulet, except for Philip Assu, who plays Guinevere, which is he was unbelievable. Most of the characters here are more scaled down. When we're thinking about King Arthur, we're thinking about Lancelot. I'm not sure that necessarily works, but his goal was clearly to make them more human. In that way, he succeeded. I have no idea what kind of reviews the show is going to get, but it's going to be interesting to see. But I have to say, I love going to the theater. There's nothing better in the world than live theater. I'm glad I got a chance to see Camelot, and I still think the central business message, which is that when you have weaknesses and strengths, you do your best to play to your strengths, not your weaknesses, and you strip them away. It's still a legitimate business point. Anyway, that's what's on my mind, and as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.